And we are very stoked to have a gentleman on the line that's been on the show before a few times and calling us right now from Long Beach, California. It is the legendary Sam McBRIDE. SAMMYTOWN from Fang. How's it going, brother?
Good. How you doing? Always a pleasure to come on your show with you. It's always good talking to you.
Thanks, man. What I know you were talking earlier about how Oakland's not the same as it used to be, and it's just the whole gentrification thing. How long you been down in Long Beach now, man?
So I moved down about 6 months ago. So it's still fairly new for me, but I really like it. Like I was saying earlier to you, Long Beach is pretty diverse. It's got there's so much punk rock that happens down in Southern California. There's shows a lot of good shows, a lot of great people down here. So I really like Long Beach.
And since you've been there, man, I don't know a lot of details, but what's the deal? You've got a new music project.
Yeah, I'm working with some guys. I've got it's right now we have a tentative name, Los Cochillos, and we're going to play our first show. I don't know if we're going to stick with the name. That's the hardest part of starting a band these days, is finding a name.
Yeah, right.
And so that's sort of temporary. But I hooked up with one of the old guitar players from Attitude Adjustment. He lives down here now, and he played in Death Toll, Attitude Adjustment. He's a great guitar player. The drummer we got he was on a couple of the Madball records and was in a band called Sub-Zero. So the three of us hooked up. We picked up a bass player. He's a kid from Modern Enemy, and then another guitar player. And so we started jamming, started writing some music. So we're gonna start playing our first show in a couple weeks here, and hopefully get in the studio before too long and make a record.
That's real cool. How will the music differ from, say, Fang?
I would say it is sort of a cross between hardcore and 80s thrash metal.
Okay.
So it's I know that Fang's last record, Rise Up, definitely has a lot of hardcore influence, and so I've been listening to a lot more hardcore and a lot more thrash metal, and so that's sort of bled over into my music, and also I think that politically it is especially hardcore, the anger is more prevalent, at least for me. That what's been going on in politics, in the last few years, that is something that I'm talking about, that I'm singing about, that I'm writing songs about.
You're expressing the angst, man, the angst.
Yeah. The first song that we wrote for Los Cuchillos is a song called "Sharpening the Knives," and it's a nod to what happened in Puerto Rico. That there's this guy Bad Bunny over there who was a rap artist, and he wrote this song called "Sharpening the Knives" in Spanish. It was a rap song that really galvanized a lot of people in Puerto Rico that were extremely pissed off the government, and that song had a huge impact on the whole political scene in Puerto Rico.
Yeah.
And so it was super powerful. It spoke to me, and certainly in solidarity to what some people over there were able to do, as far as sort of like get rid of the existing government and try and get some of the corruption out. I definitely want to I want to stand with them, give them a nod, and go, that's what we should be doing over here.
Yeah, that's real cool. Put your money where your mouth is, man. That's great.
So,
that's
what we've been working on as far as, that project down here.
And I'm sure you'll probably record at some point, right?
Yeah, we're trying. We just are sort of getting started. Like I said, I don't even know if we're going to stick with that name, but it's going to take a few more months to actually have enough songs to actually go into the studio. But that's definitely on the horizon. I definitely want to have a record out by the end of 2020.
That's cool. Yeah, we'll be looking for that, man, so we can spin the tunes on this show. What
Yeah, no, I'll definitely send you one once we do something, or even if we just go in and record some stuff, I'll shoot it your way.
Yeah, and now will the band go on the road, that kind of thing too?
That's my hope. I'm not ever one to just play in the garage. I like to get out there
Yeah.
and and tour. I mean, it's not easy because Fang is mostly a touring band. We don't play too often at home, and now we're even more split up with me down here. One of our guitar players lives in Monterrey, Mexico.
Wow.
So we get together and tour. So that's that is sort of the first. That if I'm going out on the road, usually it'll be with Fang, but certainly with the new band, I would also like to be able to get out there and play, get out there and tour.
Now, I heard the rumor that there's some new Fang stuff in the works too. Is that true?
Yeah, we're trying to write some stuff. I mean, I really want to put out another record. Die Laughing Records, our label, is definitely hot to put out a follow-up to Rise Up. And so we've been trying to get some new songs together. And so it's like I said, once again, it's a little difficult because we're kind of spread out, but we definitely are going to write another record and record.
Awesome.
Once again, hopefully that can happen in 2020. It may take us a little longer, because we're kind of spread out, but that is definitely on the horizon as well.
Awesome, man. How many albums does Fang have out total now? Have you lost count?
6 or let's see, 4, 5, 6, 7, I guess.
Do you have?
And then we did I think 7 records, and then we did a live record. So that'd be 8 if you count the live record, and then we've had a bunch of splits too.
What about your favorites? Do you have like a particular favorite, one or two that are like your very favorites?
That's hard. I mean, I am really happy with the way our last record came out, Rise Up. I think that it's not a very long record. It's 8 songs, which it's almost more of an EP in some ways. But usually my experience has been, we write a record, we go in and record, and there's songs I'm usually really excited to record.
Yeah.
And then there's songs I'm like, okay, we'll see how it sounds recorded. And invariably, the songs I'm really excited to record, when you get in and record it, they don't quite come out like I thought they were going to. So say you recorded 10 songs. Out of those 10, there'll usually be 2 I really like, 2 I'm like, well, okay, we'll put these out anyway. And then 6 that are just like, okay. But I feel very differently about the Rise Up record, that all 8 of the songs that we did on that record, I really, I felt really happy with.
Don't you love that feeling when you can actually enjoy your own art? It's like, yeah, I finally found one I can listen to and just dig it,
Yeah, I mean, and that's, like I said, that's very unusual for me.
Me too, man. I know how that goes.
we put a lot of time into writing, and it took us a long time to write. I mean, the 8th song on the record is is a cover. It's the acoustic "Mama Don't Let Your Babies Grow Up to Be Skinheads," which is and so, but the other 7 songs we wrote and rewrote. A lot. We put a lot of time into the writing process, which is one of the reasons why it took so long.
And speaking of your albums, Sam, one of our listeners sent over a question to ask you. Bill down in L.A. He wanted me to ask you if that was you on a motorcycle on the back cover of the Landshark album.
Yes, that was me on my Triumph back as a 16-year-old kid riding around. That was a fun bike. But that was absolutely me, yeah.
Oh, cool.
A million years ago.
Another question from a listener was, Joel Coleman has done art for the American Nightmare album, and the question was, are you friends with Joe?
I am. I met Joe when I was 16. When I was 16, I was running acid from California to New York. and so I was, running drugs back, running acid to New York and then bringing cash back. And there was a woman that I would stay with in Manhattan back then, and she was friends with Joe's then wife, Nancy. And so she took me over and introduced me to Nancy and Joe. At the time I was 16 and Joe was 10 years older than me. So he was 26. We were both, heroin addicts. We were both shooting heroin, and he was just getting started as an artist, and Fang was just getting started. And so we hit it off back then, which was now, of course, a million fucking years ago.
Oops, we can't cuss.
And we've stayed friends ever since. So he lived on the Lower East Side. Yeah, we that would be like 38 years ago now.
Wow,
so,
that's like a long time. It seems like.
Yeah, so we've been good friends for a long, long time now. And Joe's been super sweet in letting us use his art for album covers. He let us use one for Spun Helga, and he let us use his art for American Nightmare.
Awesome, man. Well, that answers that. Tracy's wanted to bring something up, and I think it has to do with rehab. What was that, Tracy?
Well, no, I just was wondering. I was just kind of reading some stuff, on the internet. Are you involved with? Is it called the Promise Sober Living House?
Oh, okay. So for many years in Oakland, I had a sober living for men called the Promise House.
Okay.
And we were up and running for about 5 years, but about a year ago, we ended up closing the doors, and I moved down to, and that's one of the reasons why I moved down to Southern California, because I wanted to work in treatment on a different level. And so now I work in Gardena at a residential detox called Transformations Care.
Oh, cool. That's cool. I just wondered about that. I remembered the Promise Sober Living House.
Was a good memory.
Right? And I just, wondered if that was still something that you were involved in, but I'm glad to hear that you're continuing to do that good work down there in Southern California.
Yeah, no, it's more of a full-time thing for me. When I ran the house, the Promise House up in Oakland.
No, you were running that show, right? Like, weren't you kind of?
Yeah, no, that was
your baby.
That was my deal for a long time.
Yeah.
But this what I do now is sort of is next level. It's a lot more hours, a lot more one-on-one.
Well, it's front end care. It's like you're the first kind of contact, right? Kind of like the first.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's the toughest spot. One of the toughest spots to be. So that's
right. It's definitely the first point of contact. And we work also. We take all kinds of people, but we also work with Music Cares, which is an organization down in Los Angeles, and they put indigent musicians into rehab.
I've heard of that.
Yeah.
And and they helped me out years ago. They're a wonderful, wonderful organization. If you know of a musician who's struggling and can't, and actually wants to try and get clean or get sober, who's having a hard time, and they can look up Music Cares and contact them, and they'll help you out. They're just a wonderful organization.
Does Shireen still run that organization?
She does, yes. Shireen is she's still the shot caller over there.
Yeah, I was reading D.H. Peligro's book from the Dead Kennedys, and he talks about her a lot.
Yes, yeah, yep, exactly.
Very, very cool.
And they're so awesome. They have helped me out numerous times over the years. And now the thing that's great for me is that I'm in a position where I can help them, where they can, they can send me people and we can help them.
Oh, that's so cool, dude.
Yeah, because how many years have you been sober now, Sammy?
So last October, it was 12 years for me.
Congratulations.
Yeah, good job, brother.
And before we have to cut, I hate that sometimes I feel like we could interview someone the whole 2 hours, but tell us a little bit about the podcast that you do.
Okay, so that's so with Transformations Care, the one of the owners is a guy named Roman, and he's old what's called South Bay, which is South Bay is part of Los Angeles County. he's old South Bay punk rock, which is one of the reasons why I started working with him on the rehab. And he had mentioned that he wanted to do a podcast. So I'm like, okay, well, let's just do one. And so what he does is Roman interviews people, and then myself and my girlfriend, more my girlfriend than myself, edits and produces the podcast. So we'll take the interview, and Annalisa does most of the heavy lifting, where we put music to it, edit it down, tighten it up, sometimes do sound effects and clean it up. And it's on pretty much all the platforms. You can hear Transformations Recovery Podcast on Spotify, on Pandora, on pretty much whatever platform you listen to music or podcasts on. We're up there.
Transformations.
And I'm hitting up the people I know. We interviewed Farrell, the singer for Decry. His podcast is up. And we just did Becky Reck from the Lunatics.
Oh yeah.
And yeah, she's so awesome. Becky Reck's podcast just dropped. And so we've got, and then, it hasn't been all musicians and punk rockers. Definitely have some pretty, grimy stories, some guys that have spent quite a bit of prison time, and so we're just getting it off the ground though, but it's been a lot of fun. It's definitely a work in progress. We're kind of learning as we go, because none of us had ever made a podcast before. We're like, oh, let's just make a podcast.
Right.
That's cool though. Very, very cool. Always on to a new medium, man. Always doing the creative stuff.
Yeah. I mean, it's actually been a lot of fun. It's really been interesting, and we're getting some good stories. And like I said, we're just kind of getting started. We've got some people lined up. I think Michael from the Stitches is in line to do one, and got some other people, because there's a lot of great musicians that have transformative stories.
Yeah,
absolutely. We'll be sure and spread the word about that. Hey, Sammy, just a totally selfish question, but when can we expect you to be up towards Medford way, Southern Oregon again?
We were supposed to come that way with the Dead Boys, and then
that's right.
The Dead Boys broke up.
That's right. Johnny Blitz quit.
Oh, I was so bummed. I was so stoked to do that run.
I remember that.
And then they literally broke up like 2 weeks before, and they canceled all the shows. So we're due.
Yeah.
We're definitely due for a Pacific Northwest run, and so I'm sure it'll happen before too long. We usually kind of wait around for the right circumstances, for like somebody else coming through that we know that we can jump on with. But I know we will definitely be. I would be shocked if we make it through 2020 without coming through the Pacific Northwest.
Nice.
Well, and it's always nice when all those when the time is right during warm weather. That's always a plus.
Also true.
Well,
hopefully the time won't be right, in the middle of winter, but you go.
Agreed.
You go when you can. Yeah.
Well, when you do come through, and if Divine Dirt's always available to be one of your opening acts, we're big fans of Fang, as you know. And
I always love playing with you guys. So,
thanks,
and I'm
bro.
stoked you're still doing it.
Yeah, thanks, man. Ditto, man. You've been doing it a long time, and I know we were in touch in the 80s and 90s for a while, and we've always kind of kept some kind of a relationship. And it's cool to see you when you come through, man. I love to watch as you progress and as we both keep doing our thing.
No, and it's we always love playing in Medford. It's like it's always great to play at the Pyrus Punks.
Yeah, it seems like the kids here are always really excited to see
They
Fang.
love Fang. Got a great fan base here.
Yeah,
but
no, it's always I love playing there.
Well,
always
thanks again, dude, for marking your calendar and joining us for a 20-minute chat tonight. We appreciate it because we're big Fang fans from way back, and let's do it again down the road, man.
Okay, well, thanks so much for having me. I really appreciate it. Let me know if you're coming down to Southern California, and definitely you'll see us as soon as something shakes loose for us to come that way. I'll let you know.
For sure, bro. And we'll be recording down in Paul Rossler's studio in the next year or two, and I'll probably hit you up to see if he'll come in and lay down some vocals or not.
I'd love to. You know that.
That'd be
for
great,
sure.
dude. Well, thanks so much. And anything else you want to say, Sam?
I'm trying to think. I think that we covered most all the bases. Just keep. If you, I guess, I'm always about if you play live music, go out and support local bands.
Yeah.
So we
I
try
agree.
to do that here on community radio.
Also,
for sure.
Go and go out and protest. Go fight the patriarchy.
Rock and roll, brother.
There's enough to do.
Yeah, for sure. Well, it's SAMMYTOWN. You're listening to KSKQ Radio and the Church of Rock. We've been talking with Sam from the great band Fang. Thanks for tuning in. We're going to do a classic Fang. We did a little poll, and everyone wanted to hear Diary of a Mad Werewolf from the Landshark album. So that's what we're going to spin into. Sam, thanks again, brother.
Thanks, Sam.
All right. You guys take care. Thanks for having me.
Yep. Long live Fang.